This is Kashrus Anytime, a division of the Kosher Consumers Union, a 501c3 organization, and this is Rabbi Yehuda Shane, the administrator. Today we'll address some of the issues of additives and colors. Colors are very important to the food manufacturers. Consumers have come to expect a standard of quality from the products they buy every day. They expect a consistent taste and image as well. Color is the most immediately noticeable element of overall appearance. Color is the image they're looking for and must be consistent. Many food products do not always have the same identical color depending on season, origin, process, etc. Take salmon. Salmon, when it's caught in the beginning of the season, it's a very bright orange, reddish color. As the season goes, it gets lighter and lighter. That's why it's common in the salmon market, as they're selling it up in Boston, the Boston Seafood Show. They have a whole slew of the purchaser, the wholesale purchaser could decide on what color. They'll give them all different colors of salmon that they have, and they add coloring in it in order to have it as bright or whatever else you want to have it. And usually, the end of the season salmon, which is very very light in color, they'll especially the wild salmon, they'll can it and they'll put in some coloring in that as well. Kedem grape juice, add a concentrate in order to have a consistent color and taste. Lately, there's been news that Kedem Kenever bought out Manischewitz Foods. For a few years, Manischewitz was together with Welch's on producing the grape juice. I guess now the Welch's Manischewitz grape juice brand is most probably history, because I don't think that Kedem will continue that grape juice together with the Welch's, even though on the Manischewitz label. Food colors of both natural and synthetic origin are therefore extensively used in processed foods and play a major role in increasing the acceptability and attractiveness of these products. Among the natural colors used in foods is annatto, carotene, chlorophyll 2, cochineal, saffron, turmeric, and grape-derived coloring. Of course, the cochineal, also is known as carmine, is derived from an insect which render it non-kosher. The grape-derived colors are also not kosher unless produced from a kosher acceptable production, which is generally not the case. Confectioner's glaze is used in order to give it a certain shine. You have it on sprinkles and on the other type of things, the candies they'll put on the confectioner's glaze to give it that shine, which is also comes from an insect, which in Israel all of Hashem don't allow it, and in America you have a number of Hashem don't allow it. Some are allowed confectioner's glaze. Others, unscrupulous hashgachas, are allowing the manufacturer to write on their glaze or sugar glaze when actually it's confectioner's glaze. So just be careful that it is listed correctly. As a side note, a hashgach in California a few years back came up with a brainstorm on grape production. They'll heat the grapes prior to extracting any juice, and now it's cooked now, and the goyim could do the entire production, and we don't need any more any Shemesh Shabbos mashgichim or workers there. But the sad fact is that the Hichseli Moshe, which is the criteria of from when it can become Yayin Stam or Yayin Nesach, if a guy touched or whatever else it is, starts by the dumping. And again, when the grapes start to get hot before it reached the bishul temperature, it basically is already Hichseli Moshe and it became Osir. So the fact that you heated it afterwards basically really does not solve the problem. But because of that hashgacha that was given hashgacha to a lot of the places in California and other places, other hashgachas were lowering the standard in order to be able to not lose out on that lucrative market. Foods that are frequently colored include candies, baked goods, soft drinks, butter, yes, butter is colored, cheeses, salmon, lox, oranges, and many other food items in order to improve their appearance. But the oranges and is colored based on the outside and the peel, which is not going to really affect the food. The use of coloring can conceal damage or inferiority, or make the product appear better than it actually is. The FDA does control the use of colors in food products, but only for safety purposes. The World Health Organization found many of them to be unsafe. When you see F, D, and C colors on a thing, they are all basically chemical based, and is but in general there is no Shiloh on those things if it's F, D, and C. Natural colors, natural flavors, those are the ones that are problematic. In Europe, many of the colors that we have for food are banned in Europe. Many colors are approved by the FDA as grass. Grass means generally regarded as safe, were challenged by consumers and others, and were ultimately removed from grass classification. Same thing is now the old Ashgakas have a thing called Group 1. They're assuming that there's really no shy line or anything else. They don't bother checking into it. It's Group 1. Everything's accepted from all areas. But basically, it isn't really the fact that really the group ones should be cut down considerably, and there shouldn't be that many group ones, and they should have qualified chemists in all kosher organizations that can verify those things, and these things change on a constant basis. Fresh ground flour is a pale yellow. Upon storage, it slowly becomes white and undergoes an aging process that improves its baking qualities, besides the bleaching process which is used in order to whiten it. For many years, processes have added an oxidizing agent to the flour to accelerate this process, thereby reducing storage costs, spoilage, and insect infestation. The process do not store the wheat for an extended period of time that was common a few years back. But some of the Hamisher brands of flour are ground way in advance and stored because the larger the amount that they grind at one time, their price comes down. But they are very susceptible to infestation. Kemach brand, on the other hand, does not have his flour ground in advance. He just has it ground as needed. So you usually will not find any issue of infestation by the Kemach flour. It's interesting, the Heckler's flour usually used to be a very insect-free flour, but recently there was a batch of hex flour with a date code of January 2020 that was infested. So it pays to sift your flour, check your flour, buy it from a store that has a fast turnover, keep it in a cool area. Those that do not use spring wheat from the current year's harvest till after Pesach are finding it harder to find wheat-based product from last year's harvest. Compounds such as benzoyl peroxide bleach the flour without affecting baking qualities. There's been a problem for basically winter wheat, spring wheat. A lot of them had a problem that their gluten content was low. If the winter wheat, which they wanted to have because of Yoshan, so they had to add in some spring wheat, which may be a problem. So some of the matzah bakeries, like Papa Salem, they have spring wheat stored from the year before, which is Yoshan, and they use that to add it in, so they don't have a problem with Yoshan. They don't use the current um, spring wheat in order to bring up that gluten. Other compounds, such as oxides of nitrogen, chlorine dioxide, among others, have both a bleaching and maturing ability. There are also added dough conditioners, such as ammonium or calcium sulfate, inorganic salts, etc. The quantities that are used are relatively small, and in really parts per million, since too much can easily result in an inferior product. There's another side issue that people should be alert of: the nori, the green nori that's used in sushi. We thought for all the years that it really only had a problem of seahorses. But lately, I mean the last 3 years, they either found it originally, they in Yerushalayim, and the other ones in Etzrol, they found it that these copepods, the same insects that are in water, which is very hard to find them that they're there without taking apart the nori. The seahorses on a light box you can find. So other hashgachas are given hashgacha that basically there's no seahorses in there, but most of them do have copepods also embedded in them, and even checking accurately over a light box is almost impossible to be able to find them because they're that small, those copepods, and a lot of them are very translucent. So it is a problem using the nori for sushi. And again, most orange juices contain whole scale insects and must be filtered. The strawberry kiwi very often has in it some grape juice. So the kosher consumer should be cognizant and check up on the foods and read the ingredients and check the foods that their children are receiving in camp, whether sleepaway or day camp. Kol Tov.